um, a big component of this whole program is not even the experience that you will gain, not even the the new things you will try, but also the people you meet. And you guys, as I said many times, are different, unique, so definitely better than others, at least on paper. And having spoken to many of you, it seems like you're definitely smarter, more advanced than a regular student. And so I'm hoping that one of the benefits of this whole endeavor will be that you will meet your future, as I said, friends, colleagues, business partners, and so on and so forth. And so now we have this wonderful opportunity to meet one another. So who wants to go first and just do a quick introduction? The only thing I will ask, so when you're not speaking, mute your microphone so we don't have the feedback. Sometimes that happens. And then just unmute whenever you want to talk. So who wants to go first? Go ahead, Aurimas.
Okay, guys, hello. My name is Aurimas, and apparently I'm the executive director of Lithuania and probably Baltic region or something. I'm 30 years old. I have experience in 12 years in management, basically all the levels. I did my master's degrees in international business, and I was a part of its culture program. In 2015, I believe, or 16. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly. So from now, I'm starting to be the part of this amazing event.
Yeah. One thing I can add about Aurimas is he seems to be one of the most, what's the word, to the point people. So, some people ramble around all the time and make a lot of comments, but in many cases, they're not very concentrated, let's call it this way. And Aurimas doesn't speak too much, but when he leaves comments, they tend to be very to the point and very practical. And so I kind of always look out for them because they tend to be a little bit more practical and a little bit more kind of advice-packed than average. So that's a rare talent. And I know I write long emails and somebody needs to teach me how to say more and less, but Aurimas is good at that. So I really enjoy reading his comments and sometimes he sends me emails.
I appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Thank you. It's nice to hear you.
Yeah. Who goes next?
Hi.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
My name is...
Yes.
I should mute.
Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Yeah, my name is Yoni Kwachi, and I'm in Ghana. I'm teaching by profession. I'm a teacher by profession.
Ah, okay.
And I've been to the university. I've done my master's degree in business administration.
Nice.
And I participated in X-Culture, I think way back in 2013, when I was introduced to it by Mr. Akomia, our lecturer in international business. So that was when I had the first experience, and it was very nice.
Very nice to meet you.
For now,
what do you teach?
very nice.
Yorni, what do you teach? You said you're a teacher. You teach at a school. What subject?
I teach science currently. I teach science. In our place, we call it integrated science because it's some basics of science at the junior high level and senior high levels. So that's how we call it.
Yeah. Those who don't know, so Samuel Akomea, Yornis professor who introduced him to X-Culture. So that's one of the probably most prominent and rising stars in international business. And I would even say whole Africa. I mean, anyone who does anything with Africa on the international business, area, so they know his name. There are not so many professors, unfortunately, in the whole continent of Africa who are kind of known worldwide. But he is a very, getting there, to becoming, at least in our academic community, most people seem to know him. So that's, I met him not so long ago myself,
I'm in Ghana, Brongahafo region to be specific. So I'm looking at the area of Brongahafo for now, and then maybe extend it later on to other.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Let's do a few more introductions. Okay. Who goes next? Sayed, you raised your hand before? Go ahead. Yeah.
Sir, I'm Shahid Rizvi from Bahawalpur, Pakistan. Currently, I'm also working with the organization CGNP as a regional manager. Here, I am interact with the different schools. So this period is much similar but there I am working with the teachers, and here I will work with the students. So it is good for me, and I'm looking forward for great exposures also.
Wonderful. Nice to meet you. Okay, wonderful. Let's try to move fast so we can, because we have more people than I thought there would be. So who else? Mitch, okay. Estefania, go ahead.
Yeah. I was born in Colombia, raised in Boston, Massachusetts. I study international business. Currently, I'm in Miami doing my internship. I participated in X Culture for the first time in 2016 as a student. After that, I really liked it, and I went to the Miami Symposium. I was part of the winning team. After that, I participated recently in the coaching program, and right now, well, I'm part of the Reds.
Wonderful. Yeah, nice to meet you. I've met Estefania in person a few months ago in Miami, a very, very talented girl. So if you ever have to, look for a business partner or a colleague, highly recommend. So yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Who goes next? Yes, Mitchell, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
There we go. So I think I introduced myself last week. My name is Mitchell Wynn, for those of you who do not know. I recently graduated from Rollins College back in May. Currently, I am part of a sales team at Kate Spade in New York. And I did X Culture back in 2016 with Dr. Boulanger.
Bas, we are not hearing you. You have to mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was trying to be, good with muting my microphone. So yes, I was saying that Michelle Boulanger, the professor that Mitchell mentioned, is a co-author of mine on a couple of papers. So we will be meeting with her right after this meeting. So small world. Who goes next? Wait, do we have anyone else left? Yes, go ahead, Syed.
Hi, so my name is Syed Mohammad Raza. I'm from Karachi, Pakistan. I'm an undergrad student. I'm majoring in marketing, planning to become a marketeer, and very excited to start working in X Culture. What I like best about this X Culture is that Dr. Vas, you mentioned in one of your videos, I think it was a TED talk, in which you talked about how this crowdsourcing thing, it might actually take head on the consultancy model that we have, right? The conventional consultancy model. So that's something very exciting, and I definitely like to be a part of that.
We are actually now in talks with a company from Belgium that specializes in basically crowdsourcing, problems. What they have is they have clients, but they don't have crowds. And so they approached us to see if we can team up so that they can supply cases where help is needed. And we would supply a crowd. And so they want to pay, like real competitive, whatever the, consultants get paid. And so they don't need, thousands of people, but at least they want to have dozens of potential, problem solvers. And so we'll see how it goes. But it seems like there is not only a recognition of this as a viable model of problem solving, but also now more and more companies actually trying to use it. So we'll see if we'll succeed at changing this whole culture of, professional versus crowd, approach to problem solving. But at least we will try. So we'll see how that goes. All right, so do we have anyone else? Samuel, why don't you introduce yourself? Samuel has been sending me very long emails, very informative. Thank you so much. Sorry I couldn't reply right away. It's not always easy to go through so many emails, but why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi. My name is Samuel from Ghana. Please, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, my name is Samuel Segun from Ghana. Actually, I completed X Culture in 2016. I was also a coach in 2016. So I decided to join Red because of my experience, and also I believe we're making big progress. There's hope for the future. Thanks.
Nice to meet you, Samuel. And I did reply to all your emails this morning. So yes. I know some of them have been sitting there in my mailbox for a few days, but I finally replied to all of them. So, and we'll get to that business card idea in a few minutes. So that's something that I needed to discuss and see how we can do it. Anyone else? Shahrukh, do you want to introduce yourself? Unmute your microphone. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So this is Shahrukh Idris. I was a part of X Culture, an alumni of X Culture. I took part in 2016, the later program to 2B. Currently, I'm working as a brand executive at Shaffer & Co. It's a clothing company. Currently, also, I'm in office, so I'm attending the meeting over here. The timings are very late. It was not possible for me to attend the meeting, and I might leave early as well. So yeah, I really like the idea of X-Culture Kid program, and I've already started working over here, so I'm contacting schools, and I wish that this new initiative turns out to be a success.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Shahrukh. And do we have anyone else? Yevgeny, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yep. Hello, everyone. Actually, I was working at the university a few years and was a facilitator in a few projects of civic activity. And last few years, I was working at KidIt project. It's for kids from 5 to 12. And that's all for first time.
Yeah, so that's the program in school. What's special about Yevgeny is that he's actually from the same hometown, like from my hometown. So I grew up, the first formative years of my life happened in the city where he lives. I left it at 16 and was briefly back in my 20s, but that's where I grew up. So, and I think we also missed Peter. Peter, do you want to introduce yourself, and then we'll go on with the business questions? Go ahead, Peter. Can you talk? Peter Coffee Arthur.
Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Peter from Ghana, and I participated in this quarter as an undergraduate student at KNUST, and it was our lecturer, Dr. Samuel Kumi, who introduced us to the program, and also, hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
And I've also enrolled in the coaching program this year, which is near its completion. And it's very fantastic participating in this culture, and it will be nice to have the kids also enrolled into. I'm happy to be part of the team of the regional executive directors in Ghana. And I would also want my colleagues in Ghana to come on board so that we can meet together and plan about the possible ways to get the program in Ghana, especially how to launch the program and how to market to the bureaucracies. And I have a very important plan also, if we could come together and think about the possible ways to integrate the program into the educational system, maybe by sending a proposal to the Ministry of Education for consideration. I believe that would be okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for,
yeah. Thank you. And I just saw that Peter actually wrote that he cannot talk, and I made him talk, so my apology. I didn't see the comment right away. But here we are. All right, so there are a few things I would like to discuss with you, or rather, instead of full-blown discussion, I would like to share with you what I think and what I would like to do. And then this will be your good opportunity to express your disagreement or suggest a better way forward. But anyway, we have taken a little too long to get all the materials ready. And everybody says that, startups shouldn't spend too much time on logo and graphics and stuff like that. But, look at the more important things. And I guess we made the same mistake that everybody else does. And we spent literally a couple of weeks trying to decide on the colors of the logo and stuff like that. So I'd like to end that today. It seems like we've had enough discussions. We looked at enough ideas. And so here is what I would like to do. And since it's still possible to make those changes or to change how we're going to go about it, I would like to hear your thoughts. So please now I encourage you to be, devil's advocates, if you want to call it that way, or to be the voice of reason. So if anything I say doesn't make sense to you, please tell that now. Because once we make the decision, I suggest that we just finalize it and don't go to these topics ever again unless there is a very, very good reason. So there are several materials that we need to finish literally today so that you have everything you need to do your job. And so those are business cards, pamphlets that you can hand out to people, the website or web page, landing page, and then probably we also need things like, for example, slides that you can use, maybe a letter that you can send out to schools, maybe some other materials that you would need for your work. And so a little historic overview, and then what I think we should do, and I would like to hear your thoughts. So for all these years, as you know, we didn't really have the budget, the resources, the time, and maybe even the interest to develop professional quality materials such as, the logo and the slides and, the stationery and everything, things of that nature. And so everything that we have so far, it was literally developed in a matter of minutes. Like, for example, the logo must have been like 5 years ago. We didn't have any for the first few years. And then one day we're about to start the project, like literally about to start sending out the welcome letters. And somebody says, maybe we should have a name and a logo. And so we spent maybe 20 minutes brainstorming, the ideas. And then somebody said, let's call it cross-cultural something. I thought, well, X culture seems like, cross-culture. Let's call it that way. And then, the idea just came, maybe it should be, different cultures, different, arrows of different color coming together. And so I literally just put it together using standard shapes in PowerPoint, and it worked. And I'm sure, professional designers could have done a better job, but given that it didn't cost us a penny and took only a few minutes to do, it was fine. Same thing with the design of the website, same thing with the design of the stationery and all the other things. So I can proudly say that we didn't waste any time and resource on trying to come up with a good solution. The problem with that approach, obviously, is that the materials we have so far don't look professional. So when people look at what we have, they can tell right away that some of these things were literally made in PowerPoint. They look amateurish. They look sometimes even too primitive. You guys are more respectful, and in most cases, you wouldn't criticize the things that I did, at least outright. But when I post some of those materials on Xculture's Facebook page, where we have, as of now, I don't know, like 90,000 followers or something like that. And of those, almost all have never participated in Xculture. So those are just people interested in international business. I often would get critical remarks. They would say, oh, it's, a shame to have such a primitive design and, things like that. And I kind of didn't care about that because, works for us, who cares what other thing. But if we can do it better, I'm all for it. At the same time, and this is kind of important, I always was open about the fact that we don't care that much about the, about the style, essentially. So I was always saying that, yes, the logo looks primitive, but it was done in a few minutes and we don't care. We focus on the academic side. We don't care about the wrapping. Yes, our perhaps, website doesn't look professional, but it has all the information you need. It has a nice logical navigation and it serves well. And the most important thing is I can manage it. So I don't have to go each time to an IT, web designer and ask him to change a word. I know how to manage it because, it's such a simple system. And so in many cases, we almost brag about it rather than ask for forgiveness, or excuse. So we say, yeah, we know it's not cool, but that's fine. That's not our purpose. We don't want to waste our time on, things like this. We know it works. It may not look very, shiny, but it definitely does the job. And so in a sense, it almost became part of our identity. So a company that looks only at the substance and less on the form. Having said that, as I said, I always wanted to have something more professional. And so this time we actually work with people who know a little bit more than I do. And some things they proposed are better than what I could come up with. For example, the logo, as you may have noticed, changed slightly the colors and the bevels are gone. I was very resistant to the idea. As I said, I like the one that I created in a few minutes in PowerPoint. But eventually, when I first for myself compared a few designs that were sent to me, including by the people in this meeting, and then when you voted online and some other people, it seems like one was more popular than mine. So it made sense to change. Not a big deal, easy to do. When it comes to the design, let me see if I can share my screen and show you what we have. And so how do I share the screen here? New program, and I know I can do it, but I forgot where it is. Share screen right here. All right, so So hopefully you see my slides. So this is what we have for materials. And just like for the pamphlets, for the website, the design has always been sort of like this. In fact, just to give you an idea, I should be able to find right now the design of the original website. Let me see if I can quickly find it. That after working with a number of designers, I just said, this is what we'll do. And they created it exactly the way I drew it in PowerPoint. That's the original design. I literally just put these things and I said, make it like this. And that's exactly what they did. And that's what we still have. And so we haven't really changed much other than changed the map a little bit, added a little things here, but that's basically the design. And as I said, the reason I liked it was because it's simple, it doesn't take much time, it's minimalist, and at the same time it does the job. And that's what we stick with. And now, we have received a lot of interesting ideas this time. So for example, when we look at our pamphlet, one of them that I called Classic was created more or less based on our design, and it's slightly different. So I had one that was literally like the website with all those blue corners and stuff like that, but then we added a little bit more graphics. And so this one kind of looks in the same colors, white and blue, and very minimalist. Then this was one of the ideas that came from the designer when we told her, do whatever you want to do. So forget about our original design, just do something. And so that's what she came up with, and I thought it was a good design. I like the green color. It's pleasant to the eye. The only problem I don't like it, reason I don't like it is because green, it's more like, you know, like Greenpeace type of thing. So if it was a club, you know, related to the nature, I think I would go with that color. The reason I personally prefer blue is because, as I said to the designer, if you type international business in Google and say images, see what the color is of the first 10,000 pictures. And I thought, you know, people want to, you know, they associate colors with, you know, with things. And so if this is the color of international business, maybe we should stick with that color scheme just because it would be a little bit easier for them, you know, to relate and understand what we do. So I asked to do the same thing, but then change the colors. And here is the blue and gray version. And I was always saying maybe we should stick with white as the color of simplicity. And easy to work with, blue as the color of business, and maybe some gray, you know, like office color, you know, concrete, glass, steel, those kinds of things. And then finally, we created a hybrid where we took the design that she created from scratch, but I said, why don't you add those color dots and then the corners, and so this way there will be at least some relationship to our website, and so maybe we'll go with that. So with pamphlet, that's where we are. And then same thing with the business cards. So I, being selfish, a long time ago, had to create one. So I literally just put the website in a smaller size and said that will be our business card. Some people didn't like it. In fact, there was one person who is now in the meeting who said, if that's the business card, please allow me to just print my own. There is no way I'm going to print out and give out cards like this. So that was very harsh criticism. And that's fine, you know, no problem. I recognize that it's a little too simplistic, too minimalist, though I kind of like it. That's another one created based on our design, so two-sided. So again, has all the elements of our website, you know, the colors, the logo, the dividers, and then the squares and the map. And the map here is not so much for, you know, for the show, but more kind of for social validation. You know, we show that the participants come from these countries so that we kind of show our global reach and gain some credibility that way. This design was created by one of the designers here. So I love the idea of the square business card. And I really like the idea of something unusual. But then it occurred to me that a design like this will not work in some countries. If you come up with a card, like if you use a card like this, for example, in Japan, people will think like it's basically like showing up to a business meeting in t-shirt and shorts. Nice and cool in some cultures, but totally unacceptable in the more traditional cultures. And so I, you know, like the idea, I like the look. I did ask also for the blue version so that we have, again, more consistent with our colors. My only concern is that it may not fly in more traditional cultures where business cards are part of a protocol, not just a way to show off. This is another one. I like the kind of rich colors. We will definitely have this on the business card. So you just put your phone on it and it automatically scans all the information and puts it to your memory book. I like the netting, so kind of we had that on the website. The only thing is when you look at it from afar, it almost looks like it's some sort of like an astronomy club, looks like the night sky. And so I'm not sure if people will understand that that's their kind of network and not a constellation of stars. And so that's my only concern. And so same thing with all the other materials. And so here's what I suggest we do. I suggest that we take this design as the main design, but allow the regional directors to do whatever they want to do for themselves. So if someone doesn't like it, I'm perfectly fine. If they decide to use a different business card, if they decide to use a different template, we will even help them design them if they want to, if they have specific ideas, or if they are good at that, they want to design themselves, perfectly fine. I will only send a very strong warning, which is consistency is critically important. All the studies show that the conversion rate depends on consistency. If you give someone a business card like this, and they like it, but then they go to register for the project and they see a completely different design, people may just drop out. So they may either think that they came to a wrong place, or they may have a completely different set of emotions, and that may undermine your conversion rate. But why not? So if you want to try this, let's try and see which ones work better. As I said, my idea in the initial stage was to give you all the autonomy you want. And so we don't know what's going to work best. So if you think this is the best design, or same thing with the pamphlets, why not? So we'll just have to think of a way to manage it efficiently. So I'll try to talk to our designer, and if you come and say, this is how I want my business cards to look like, we don't want her to create 40 different templates. Ideally, we want to have one, and she just types in the new name, sends you the high definition file, you order the print, and you get it. But I suppose if we'll have 2-3 different designs, it's not too hard to manage either. So I personally recommend to stick with the classic design, just because that's how everything seems to look now. Maybe one day we'll change it. But if you believe something else is better, by all means, go with that better. Maybe you'll eventually convince all of us, or we'll show the results that work better. And maybe we will all switch to that design and use that one in the future everywhere. What do you think about this approach? Anyone? Silence means either everyone's agreeing or everyone like, what is he talking about? And you don't even want to. Yes, Mitchell, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, so personally, I think that there's a lot of, I don't know, separation in between the different types of business cards. And for that, I honestly think it should be an autonomous decision by you.
Meaning that impose one design on everyone?
Yes and no. I think if we were all to show up at the same place and we all have different business cards, it kind of looks bad on us.
that is a risk, yes. So I wanted to say that who cares if they're different, because it's not like, you know, someone from Ghana will see your card and Alex's card at the same time, unless we come to some sort of a convention. But
the symposium we do every year.
Yeah. As I said, the problem with, you know, maybe I made a mistake asking everyone for input, because now if we select one and say this is the one, we will have like 2/3 of the group not happy. And I believe I showed you before, I looked at your comments on Facebook, and I did look at the numbers you provided in the survey. And it's literally like all over the place. I think I even posted about that something last night. Like literally every single design, there are like 10 people who love it and 10 people who hate it. There was like one design that more people didn't like, but even that had like 3, you know, best votes. But it just seems like it's like, I didn't expect that. I thought literally that one will emerge as a clear winner, and we only have like one that is more like a clear loser, but the other 3 or 4 are actually all roughly, you know, same. So therefore, I don't know. It seems like the decision, if we go with one and one only, the decision would have to be mine, just because there is really no way, like, why should anyone else make that decision? And second, the data are not saying that, you know, this should be the decision. It literally has to be arbitrary. And I guess that's fine. But so you think it would be a bad idea to allow people to do whatever they want in the first 2 months, 3 months?
In the first few months, I don't think it's a terrible idea. At some point, we will have to universalize everything.
I agree with that. So at least now we agree that at some point universal, but okay in the beginning to have different ones. Anyone else? Yes, Sayed? Aurimas, did you guys raise your hands or you were just scratching? Yeah, go ahead.
I think it must be universal. Universality is a good thing. And when you show, they have two sides. On the back side, there's a S-Culture logo. On the front side, there's a name. Is looking good. So I go with the one which has two-sided, and one with the S-Culture logo, and other with the details. It seems good, and it must be universal, I think.
Okay. All right. So let me see if I can quickly have a poll. Maybe we'll have another quick poll just to make sure. So, but anyway, anyone else wants to share ideas or comments? Because as I said, now it's a time to decide. I launched the poll here. So we have kind of three different options. We have classic, that's the simplistic minimalist. We have hybrid, where we have the simplistic but with a little extras. And we have modern blue. I'm dropping green just because, as I said, it's a little out of place. It's pleasant, it's nice, but it's not consistent with the business theme. And so for that perspective, I think I want to drop it. But in any case, so okay, and it seems like it's actually winning. So okay. Anyone else? Do you see the results? Is it something that I'm sharing with you, or all of a sudden, okay, now classic is winning? Let me see if I can quickly share so you can see how this yeah. So share screen. So that's this is what we have. So first modern blue was winning, then hybrid, and now classic is winning. All right, so it's even messier and even classic is okay. All right, so any other comments at this time? I'll take a little bit more time to think about it, and we'll make the decision right after this meeting then, because it seems like we probably want to go with universal. I probably want to still give people to experiment, the option to experiment in the initial stages. But any other comments or suggestions on this front?
Yeah, I just thought I sum up something that you told actually, and Michel and Said. So probably we're all in the same topic, yeah. Classic style, I believe that it's the most appropriate. For example, if you have the green or blue card, when you go to apply to the project, you have the same classic style. So anyway, we have to face the truth, colleagues. Our main target is not the kids. It's teachers, principals, parents, or something. So I'm not sure that they're into that color stuff, and the colors will help us to provide this project. So I'm with that topic that we have to stay with the classic science.
I agree and disagree. Agree because I like the idea of a serious business style, because even for the children, the whole message of the project is that even though you are still children, you're basically now playing in kind of adult games. So you're basically doing what real businessmen do. For the whole semester, you will pretend to be a serious businessman consultant, and you will basically, put on a tie and a suit and will do the job that, serious men do, or women for that matter. And so even for children, I think we have to pretend to be as conservative, as serious as kind of a tie and a suit type of thing, because that's what we show them as an aspiration. So if we were targeting businessmen and telling them, oh, what you do is not as difficult, let us show you that it can be fun, then maybe more kind of colorful style would be a little bit more appropriate. At the same time, the only reason I don't like the classic design, it does look a little too simple. I wish it was a little bit more, what's the word, kind of rich. Like, if you give me just 1 second, let me see if I can get that. And I wish you could see the originals, but so when we were playing with the designs, I literally ordered one of the times I did ask to create like all kinds of designs, and I ordered every possible one on every possible, paper. And so this was the winning design. And so it's on nice glossy paper, and it's a nice pamphlet with pictures, and that's basically what you see. It looks great when you look at it by itself. It looks very nice and clean and, as I said, minimalist. But then you take something like, for example, this, and this looks a little more, what's the word, kind of substantive. So if you put them side by side, this looks a little bit more like professional graphics, right? So this looks a little bit more, like, as I said, by itself, it's nice. It's kind of, Scandinavian, if you want to call it that way, simple and only the substance. But if you look like this all of a sudden, this one looks a little bit more developed. And I wish we had that with our design. Even this simple design with a green background. So once you add some background, it actually looked a little bit more like a piece of, you know, design rather than just a printed text on white paper. And so that's why I'm always, you know, keep searching for some other solution, or the same one just with the blue color. Again, it seems to look a little bit more, how should I say, kind of not homemade, but actually made in a professional studio. So that's why I don't quite want to finalize this as the final and last design. Maybe we can still add some, you know, some layers to it or something like that. So that's why, you know, so, but yeah, just to tell you that I did take it seriously and printed every possible way, you know, so so you don't think that it just comes from somewhere. But anyway, I'll think about that and finalize one, maybe still with the option of, you know, we have some talented people and they can come up with something better. And so that's why I don't want to close that door, and maybe, you know, leave some room for experimentation. And who knows, maybe in some countries simple is good, but maybe in other countries more kind of rich is good. And so we don't want to, you know, lock people in one option if they believe that it will, you know, improve their job if they have more options. So that's one. So second, so by the end of the day today, I plan to have the final application form, the final page design, and we kind of have it. I want to read it one more time and make sure that everything works. Decide on the design of the handout, and we will have them in A4 and letter format, depending on the country, what paper you use, ready for you to download and print. It will take probably me a couple more days to have the handbook for teachers and the handbook for for parents, but those are also less burning, so it's not something you may need right away, but we'll want to have those as well. The design of the business card, again, will have either one or several, and you will be able to literally just add your name and print them. And it may take another day or two to write a letter, like a letter template, but again, you can write your own right away, so don't wait until we have a standardized one. And I will also post for you the stationery, like in Microsoft Word, so you can use it if you want to type your letter for a school. You just use the stationery, type it, and use, you know, go from there. And I think at that stage, you will have pretty much everything you need to start doing your job. I mean, obviously, you know, we'll still have to discuss many things and work on many things, but at least as far as the materials, you should have everything you need by the end of the day today. That's my goal for today. The only other thing that we wanted to discuss was the pricing, and I actually need your advice one more time. So again, pricing was a mess. Every single option got roughly the same number of votes. So we had that expensive, medium, low, you know, multiple discounts, one discount, and it was literally almost uniformly, you know, everybody, like there was no winner and there was even no loser. And so I think we're going to stick with the original price level then, $195 for individuals, $275 for schools. The only thing that I'm still struggling with is this, the discounts. I like the idea of 2 levels of stipends because, you know, maybe we don't want to give almost free to everyone who cannot pay full price. So by adjusting allowing multiple options, we can kind of, you know, capture a little bit more revenue. But at the same time, it introduces unnecessary complexity. I can clearly see how the pricing will work if you have a price and a grant or stipend. So let's say it's $195 and $150 grant. So this way, you either pay full price or you apply for the stipend and you either get it or not get it. And if you get it, you pay less. If you have multiple levels, then the question becomes, how do you do people ask for both and we give just one? Do we it becomes a little complex logistically. It doesn't look neat. And so that's where I'm still not sure. So everybody seems to like the idea with the 2 levels of stipend. But as I said, it becomes like, how do people then say, I only want level 1 discount, or I need level 2 discount, or they just see only one option depending on what country they log in from, which we, by the way, can do. So I don't know how to do it best. And so tell me what you think about that now. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. Zhenya, yeah, I see you.
I would say the less options is the less complexity. So
yeah,
as for me, it's better to have like one option for the stipend, and that's all.
The only question then is, let's say, for example, individuals. So we have $195 as the base price. Everybody seems to like it. But then one discount, would it be $100 or $150? So, so meaning that it's making it almost free, only $45, or kind of cuts it in half only? So that's the question then.
So when you're have a choice, you will choose the better option. You know, that's why I'm thinking of.
So only like one bigger discount. One.
Yeah. That's for me.
Yes.
How you came with the idea that discount should be 100 or 150? How does that come with that number?
Made like literally made up. Seemed like a good number. Okay. Yeah, no, with this one, with the XCulture, so we used to charge $200 per school, regardless of the number of students. And I don't even know where that number came from. It just seemed like like 100 seemed a little too little. More, I didn't feel comfortable. Then we desperately needed money because, our expenses were too high. And somebody said, why don't you make it 250 and see what happens? I made it 250 and the number of applications actually improved. And I guess maybe just because, historically just happened to coincide. So nobody complained. Now some people say make it 300 or even 400, but that's when I feel it's going to be a little too much. But at the same time, in XCulture, we have 2 levels of discount. So we say 250, but if you cannot pay 250, you can pay either 100 or you cannot pay at all. And so pretty much all American schools or all European schools pay full price. There would be maybe 1 or 2 schools that say, well, I cannot pay full price. Can I pay only $100? And we are fine with that. And then most of the schools from, like, for example, Ukraine, some Asian, some African, they say we cannot pay. Latin Americans, for some reason, all pay. Like, they are very proud. I don't know, like Brazil, Colombia, they never asked for a discount. I know that some of those countries, if they did ask, I know they may not be as rich as, like the United States, but they are very proud. They always pay. But then like Asia, I can understand, or Africa, that sometimes it may be not even that it's too much money. It's just hard for them to transfer money overseas. And that's fine. So we don't, we don't insist. But we never really, experimented with the different levels. So we just, just went, you are saying to specify the number of students for the school. That we did experiment with, and it didn't go well. And the reason for that is, first, it's not always possible to know how many students will actually participate in the program. So in many cases, the project would be first optional. Not everyone will be required to participate, and it's never clear how many will actually decide to participate. Then there will be some students who will enroll but will not pass the readiness test, and we will not allow them to participate, so the number changes. And then often what happens also, students start and then either are not ready or get busy with other things and they drop out. And so adjusting those numbers is always a problem, and we had to deal with like discounts, and we had to deal with refunds, and it's such a nightmare that it becomes so difficult that we just said, you know what, one price, one class, we don't care how many students. Another reason we don't really care that much about the number is because my marginal cost is at the level of the class, not at the level of student. So when the professor sends me the list of names and there is only one name on that list versus there are 200 names, it takes me the same number of minutes to add that person or those people to the system, because it's the same number of clicks and it's automatic. It's not like I have to enter them one by one. So it doesn't take me more time to work with a large class than a small class. And so for that reason, I don't mind charging them the same and not charging them more. It just becomes so difficult to manage it because, as I said, those numbers fluctuate. We can have maybe, like a different price for a class up to 10 and maybe above 10. But again, it becomes logistically too hard. It's easier just to have one fixed price and keep it low enough so that even small classes see it as justifiable rather than go with complicated systems. I hope it makes sense to you. Fabian, let me see how that works. So with the pricing, I personally lean towards one discount, and I suggest we go with $195, $100 grant, $150 grant, and $275, again, $150 grant. So discounted to $125. And then for classes with the option of free participation, if you find a good school that needs to participate, a good teacher who will guarantee the quality, but at the same time cannot pay either economically because of the economic constraints, or the regulations are such that it's very hard for them to find a way to pay. Maybe the school kind of has the money but doesn't have the budget for this kind of things, or maybe something else. If they're really, really reliable and you can vouch for them, I suppose we can allow them to participate for free, at least in this initial round. And I think that's what I'm leaning towards. So I'll give it some more thought. But if you have any other, suggestions, send me a comment either here or email or some other way. If you, yeah. So do you think that would be fine? The only problem with that approach is obviously that, again, you kind of want to capture as much commission as possible. And so if we give them discount to such a low amount right away, then you sort of, kind of lose that middle point. But at the same time, we will have a system in place for you to ask for a different price. So for example, we have, Laura is not here, is she? We have this woman in Uganda in Africa. She's a Peace Corps there. And so she spoke to a few schools, and those are very expensive private schools. So where tuition is like $25,000 a year. And she said, when she said it's going to cost them $275, they said, no problem, that's per student, right? And she says, no, that's for the whole class. And they're like, ooh. And they were a little surprised why it's so cheap. And so she thinks she can get a little bit more money, we can get more money, and for them it doesn't matter, so they can definitely pay. So she literally said that maybe we should increase the price to like $750, for example, for those schools, because it will kind of increase the value of the project in their eyes, and at the same time, they can pay. And so we literally will have like a separate page and a separate invoice for them for that larger amount. So hopefully it will work fine, because again, the trick here is that they can always go to the main page and see a different price. And so we'll have to think how to do it. We can block it from some IP addresses by the country, but so we should be able to do it eventually. We'll definitely find a way to do it within a few days. So, but that's another issue. So just to close this topic, if you have some strong opinion about why this is not the right way to go, and you believe that it should be done differently, now is a good time to unmute your microphone and say that. Anyone? Alex, go ahead. Alex is the opposition. And it seems like we don't hear you, Alex. Yes, so you're not muted, but the microphone is not working. Maybe you chose the wrong microphone.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, now I hear you. Now I hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm saying, yeah, how are you? Once again, do you hear me? So I was saying that with price, it of course is definitely tricky, especially with the very high-end institutions, just even in Kenya. So of course, when we approach them, of course, we'll tell them this is an introductory price while we wait for the page to be updated for the different prices that we like to charge. Otherwise, the price can be too low or too high depending on the class of the school. So again, it is good to be flexible, a bit more flexible with pricing, because then we could have institutions that could pay maybe half or maybe $200 and that are comfortable. Especially Kenyans, they like to bargain. So if you tell them $250, they'll tell you, I have 200. What do I do? So
one of the other options we can do, and tell me what you think, is to put a much larger price on the top and say, and I kind of like that idea, and say that it's a beta project or program, so we are testing it. So the price is, let's say, $775. That's what we intend to charge in the future. But because now we are testing and cannot fully guarantee that everything will go super smoothly, that's why we say $275 this semester. And then you can still apply for a stipend, and we will look at it on a case-by-case basis. But the real value of the project is, let's say, $775. Because of the beta, test run, we for now will charge only, let's say, $275. And then, once we have everything running and confirmed, we will go back to that price. So this is a little bit, I don't like it a little bit because it's kind of a game essentially. So, I mean, a little, on the border between, full transparency and honesty and some kind of marketing games. But at the same time, it may be something that will, again, raise the value in the eyes of the participants while allowing us to still charge less, a more affordable price. I don't know. Do you think that would be too much? Do you think that might work? What do you think?
It could work. That one could work. And we are honest. What we want is more people to understand the value of X-Culture. And because of perception, some may not think it's valuable. I mean, if it's cheap. So we're not being dishonest. We're just trying to get to more people and get this idea to help other people out there. So 775 could be good. so that we say we are now currently charging 275. Then similarly to the individual, though for the individual, 195 is a bit too high, especially for Kenya, for an individual.
Right.
So having a 195, that is why I will propose the two discount groups that we wanted to do, because then.
So what I did, yeah, thank you so much, Alex. What I did, I just literally now posted in our closed group on Facebook, so what the price should be. Please, right after this meeting, take a few minutes and, write your final thoughts. Or if you want to share them in private, send them to me by email. I will take another hour to think. It seems to me that there is no perfect solution. No matter what we decide, there will be somebody who will disagree. And so that's just like with the design of the booklets. It seems like we just have to say, okay, this is what we do this semester. It may not be perfect, but we have to decide on something. So let's do it this way and then see how it goes. If needed, we will change it again next semester. But before we make that final decision, maybe if you want to share your thoughts, if you have any, maybe you're completely indifferent, or maybe you don't really know what's the best one, then just ignore it. But if you want to say something, if you think we missed something, or if you just want your opinion be heard, write a comment in the group there, or send me an email if you want it to be in private, and I will take that into account. And I apologize in advance. It seems like no matter what we choose, some of your ideas will not be, granted. And so I guess that's a mathematical necessity, because some of the ideas are literally mutually exclusive. So we'll just have to go with something. So let's do it that way. Fabian, I see you sending me messages, and I don't know what it means. It says privately. Do I need to go to a different location, or is it just I see them? I think that's what happens. So, but anyway, finally, last very important issue, and this one I don't know what to do about it. So how do we track who brought home? Since we have for the first time this situation where we have commission, all of a sudden we have the need to know precisely who was the person who referred the applicant. And we can go with a very simple approach where there will be a question where we ask, how did you learn about the program? And the person will say, for example, I spoke to such and such, or I attended this event, or maybe, he spoke, stopped by my school and talked to me. Or I just saw a Facebook ad, for example, or just was Googling, for programs for my kids and saw it online. And that should give us, a pretty accurate indicator as to who brought whom. But it may not be perfect. So first of all, the geography will not always work because, let's say, for example, I may be in the United States, but maybe I spoke to my friend in Germany, and so it's a whole different geography, but still sort of my job. Second, we have Ghana and we have Pakistan, where we have multiple people in the same country, and that will be very difficult to differentiate. And some people said, oh, maybe just pay them as a team and let them decide who gets what. Possibly, but you can see how that may lead to conflicts. Others said, ask people to enter a code when they apply, but that is too complicated. They will probably forget even your name, let alone your code that you gave them. So many applicants will not remember those hard. So some people said put a photo of the person, but then again, maybe some of them will will hear through you, but maybe in a newspaper ad, or maybe from a friend that you talked to. So they may not even see you in person, when they're deciding. And so as I said many times, I will try to err in your favor. So if in doubt, we will, assume that it was your referral. But at the same time, if there is a way to do it more intelligently, it would be nice to know how. And so I'm curious if you have any suggestions. It's a difficult question. Anyone? Again, we'll have to test. Maybe it will not be a problem. But again, once, that's the first time we actually have some compensation tied to it. It's been much easier with Xculture, where everybody is just a partner. And here, all of a sudden, it is salary. Yeah, Samuel, please go ahead.
Well, I suggested something like maybe in the first place, okay, I have three suggestions. The first one goes like this. For multiple rates, maybe Ghana, we have maybe 5 rates in Ghana. We can all team up and then start the job. Then whatever comes from Ghana here will just be divided among the rates in Ghana as commission, working as a team. That's the first comment. Thing I want to say. Now, the second thing is, if you want to work individually, we can also write our names on the pamphlets that we distribute it to the people, so that whenever they are doing the readiness test, they will just refer to the pamphlet and see the name on it, and also use it to answer the thing. Also, I was also thinking about something like, if I go to a particular school, I will give you the name of that school, so that if the school enroll, then you will use the name that I give you to refer to the person who, let's say I go to a school like Prempeh College. Then I give you the name that I went to Prempeh College. They show interest in it. So if anybody in Prempeh College try to enroll their students, then it is me that went there. Then in that case, if Prempeh College make that enrollment, then definitely you know that someone gave me a hint that he went to Prempeh College, he's enrolled, and therefore I believe he did that job. Thanks.
We will try all of those. I think we can try all of those. I even spoke to our IT guy, and what we can do is we can use a different link for the same application, and basically give each one of you your personal link, and that personal link can be in that QR code on the back of the form, and then even in the application itself. So it could be like literally Xculture Academy /1 or 2 or 3, whatever the number. And so this way we can track it. The problem there is that many of them will not go directly to the application. They will go to the website, and then they will click on the website, apply. And so all of a sudden that's a generic link, and so that may be lost. But we can still at least have it in some way so that we can, somehow track. And hopefully through all those channels, most of the cases will be easily identifiable. And as I said, in these at least initial few months, I'm prepared to, even if I have to pay 2 people at the same time, or even 3 in some unique cases, the commission, that's fine. That's not a huge deal for the first few months. I'm just hoping we will have a more reliable system eventually developed for the future. Okay, and I have one more question, and then I'll open it for answer some questions. So Samuel sent me a question if we can have employee cards. So Samuel asked if we can have literally like something that looks like a driver's license with your photo on it and like a plastic, not a business card. And I've never seen that before. I guess, some companies have employee cards, but it's mainly, like to open doors and things. And I have to talk to our lawyer and accountant first of all if there are even like any legal restrictions on us doing that, because we actually will be essentially issuing like an ID. Second, I have no idea how to make them. Should we order them in the United States and mail them to you? Third, is it really necessary to spend the time on trying to design them, to pay for them, to ship them, to like it seems like it's complicated. But at the same time, if it's absolutely necessary, maybe we need to do it. So Samuel, that was your idea, right? So do you want to share a little bit quickly of why it is necessary, what it is, and maybe we collectively can find a solution?
Actually, my suggestion was that we are printing the business cards to distribute to people to just create awareness, like a complimentary card. But the other suggestion was that all of the Reds individually needed an identity card with their passport picture on it, maybe with a seal from you that this is actually, this person, Samuel Osebonsu, is actually working, is being hired by Xculture Academy and is working for Xculture Academy.
My accountant will not like it for that precise reason. The initial idea was that we would have you as internal employees and basically have you on our payroll. And the problem with that is that if you all were here in Greensboro, it wouldn't be a problem. Obviously, we'll have to pay your taxes and then provide benefits, but at least it would be one country to deal with. In different countries, the labor laws are very different. So the taxes, the benefits, the vacation, the sick days, there are thousands of things that all of a sudden we have to deal with. And it's not even that I don't want to deal with that money-wise. It's so complicated, and there is no way I can learn or my accountant can learn how to do it. It's just way, way, way beyond, it's too complex for us. Maybe in the future when we have some permanent, regional executive directors who do work for us on a permanent basis, and we know it will be for years, maybe at that time it will be worthwhile trying to investigate and and stick with that. But at this time, the accountant was extremely not only advised, they said there is no other way we can do it at this stage other than as a company. Basically says you guys have to be treated as independent contractors, and we just we agree on a specific amount for a specific service, be it a commission or a fixed fee. But we just pay that money, and it is up to you then. Basically, you are an independent entity, independent company, and it is up to you to pay your own taxes if needed, whatever the regulations in your area. Likewise, if you basically just like when you hire someone to paint your house. So you say, okay, how much will it cost to to paint 5 rooms? They say, okay, it will cost you, I don't know, $1,000. You say, all right, that's fine. So they show up with their own equipment. They do the job. You pay them $1,000 as you agreed. And then you are done until the next job. And as I said, in this case, I don't like this arrangement because it doesn't sound, as personal as it should be in a team like this. But physically, as I said, it would be no way there is, for us, it's possible to figure out how to do those things in, in a couple dozen different countries, abide by all the laws, probably will still make some mistakes, probably will end up having problems with, whatever the IRS, revenue services or taxation, agencies in those countries. It just unsurmountable challenge for us at this stage. Maybe in the future, but for now, I know we will completely, waste all our time and resources trying to make it happen. And so that's why I'm becoming a little bit concerned about the employee card, because by employee card, we sort of declare you as an employee. And then all of a sudden your, taxation guys will be not happy. They will say, okay, you work for a company, where is your, all those benefits and stuff? And then you can be in trouble, we can be in trouble. Not to mention that your, part of your salary will be going to taxes. Whereas if we pay you directly a relatively small amount, I guess if you don't declare that and don't pay the taxes, I suppose in some countries at least it shouldn't be a problem. So I don't know, complicated. What I can offer instead as a legitimacy, option, we will have your personal pages on Xculture, on the Xculture website. So we will have your photo, we will have your bio, and it will be on our own website. And so when you talk to someone and you say, I work for them, we will have your, whole thing on our website, and you can show them and they will say, oh yeah, that's this guy. So that will give, basically will qualify you as a partner, not as an imposter who just says that you're with us. So hopefully that will be good enough. Make sense? But anyway, if there will be some special circumstances in a specific country where it's so unique that we have to do it differently, we'll definitely try to resolve it. I just don't want to get into all those, idiosyncrasies, because it just may be too hard for us to handle. Anyway, we are exactly at 1 hour. Now your turn to talk. I'm going to, shut up here. So any questions, comments, observations? Yes, Samuel, please go ahead.
Yeah. Talking about the business cards.
Yes.
I want to know. Today I made some inquiries. And it seems like there are numerous ways they print them.
Yeah.
But it all depends on the cost. So I just wanted to know which one is preferable. Probably I prefer the plastic one. But there are also ones which are merely paper.
Yeah.
And also, because I knew that if you give a business card to somebody which is paper and it gets in contact with water, it's going to get wet. The person may need it some other time, but may lose it. And also, the same paper, they can use a rubber lamination machine to laminate it.
Yeah.
And aside that, they have the plastic card. So I just want you to pick the one you want so that we can make the inquiries for it.
Business cards are a big business and a very important business in some countries. In the United States, it seems like nobody uses business cards anymore. Most of the time when people meet, they just say, look me up on LinkedIn, or, here's my contact. And you literally have apps where you just touch the phones and it automatically transfers the whole, contact. In other cultures, like for example, Japan, especially China, but also some countries, even in Germany, it is a big deal. And so you have to exchange cards a certain way, and your card has to look very professional. It cannot be something, too creative. So it has to be, maybe even made out of plastic, as you said, or laminated or something else. And so we have to take that seriously. My preference is obviously, cheaper is better. So, but I'm biased here. So I'd say this, you see what is necessary in your market and you tell me how much it costs. as long as the price is within reason, something that we can afford, we'll grant it. Maybe you'll have a few that are more expensive and maybe a few, more that are less expensive. So for example, if you meet with let's say a class and you give each parent a card, maybe you can just give something, simpler. Obviously you don't want just, something on a flimsy paper. You want something that looks fine, but kind of from the kind of cheap range, not, super expensive. But maybe for the most important meetings, you want to print maybe a couple dozen, like literally plastic cards that are very, very substantial, and keep those, maybe for principals of the important private schools in your area, or maybe some government officials. But ultimately, tell me how much it will cost. I know here in the United States it's extremely cheap to print cards. Like if you go to literally like Office Depot or Staples, you can print I think it's like $100 for 100 cards like for $5. So basically for what here is a minimum hourly wage, you can print a few hundred decent looking cards, and probably it will cost much more once you go like two-sided with special materials and stuff like that. But decent looking cards like the ones I get from my employer at the university, they're very cheap. Like literally they go like a cent per one. And if you order like 1,000 of them, you can literally get them like for $15 or for $10. I assume it will be even cheaper in other countries. I know the print is probably more expensive in the United States than anywhere else. So if we're talking about like $10, $15 to print the cards that you want, no problem. If you come and say it's going to cost like $350, obviously that's something we cannot afford, at least not at this time. So let me know and we'll try to grant it as long as it's within reason, and maybe fewer if you need a few, expensive. So frugal is better than, wasteful. But if there is an absolute need to have something very impressive, we'll work with you on that. Any other comments, questions? As I said, some people here don't talk much, so they'll send me probably some serious
Okay,
comments.
I wanted to talk.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I wanted to talk.
Yes, go ahead, please, Yorni.
With regards to our meetings, and I suggest that this medium is better than the other ones you gave us earlier on, because this is my first time of taking part in this one, and I'm sure it has really helped me, because I use an iPad, and it's a movable something. I'm always traveling, so wherever I am, I can just hook up, and then we can do it this way. Compared to the other means that you brought up.
That's the one we will use. And with the meetings, thank you so much for bringing this up. My plan is to have these meetings regularly, maybe even twice a week, but obviously you don't have to attend all of them. So only either if you want to talk to me, or if you would like to just simply attend and listen, I will have the recordings all the time. You can always watch them later. And the reason for that, I want to have them on a more regular basis, mainly because it's very hard for me to talk to you individually. I literally, in these last several weeks that we started working together, I would have probably 3, 4, sometimes maybe even 5 private meetings a day. And even though it's each time like 20 minutes to 1 hour, but I literally spent half of my time for the last few weeks talking to you guys face to face. I spent about an hour yesterday talking to this guy from Belgium, this guy from Ukraine here. We speak almost every day. Again, it's necessary because he's involved in some other things that we do. But the problem here is that it's not that I don't want to, it just physically, it may not be the optimal use of the time. There are some things that we urgently need to do, and you all depend on me doing those things. And so if we have all the correspondence goes privately with 30 people, 40 people, it will just, it will require all the time. And so I thought instead we will just have regular meetings, let's say every, for example, Tuesday and Friday, or Wednesday and Saturday. And so that's when you can always talk to me. If there is something urgent, you just email me. And then if it's something, private, sensitive, and you need to talk, obviously I'll make myself available. But hopefully these collective meetings will be, let's call them office hours. We'll hopefully take care of like 90% of the correspondence. And then we can have the Facebook discussion group, again, one channel, because one of the problems was that, some of you would contact me on Facebook, others send email to me, others send email to admin, some would send a message through Skype. And just, keeping track of all those different communication channels, I noticed that I was just literally missing some important messages. So that's why I want to put all the correspondence in Facebook, and then in the closed group, and then all the direct communication here on a regular times And as I said, you don't have to attend them all. The recordings will be available. You can watch them later. But at the same time, if you want to talk, you know for sure that you can, get hold of me at that time, as well as talk to other colleagues. Maybe you want to talk not only to me. So hopefully that's okay with you. As I said, it seems to be just physical necessity rather than my personal preference. So, all right. Anything else?
Yes.
Sayed, please go ahead. Oh, Alex, yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So as I've been going around trying to discuss this issue, I've realized that there are more professionals than individual kids. Like when I'm trying to propose to somebody, the first thing they ask is there one for me? Yeah. If I'm proposing to a parent, is there one for me? And then I tell them, yeah, we have. So I don't know what is our exact description. Are we allowed to go into universities and professional bodies?
So you asked like 5 questions, and the answer is yes, 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 and yes. Yes. We've always had at least close to 100, maybe even sometimes more professionals. Most of them would be either people who seek to advance their career or students who don't have X-Culture as part of the course. We've had that always, and I will just update a little bit the landing page or the page for them so that it looks a little bit better. And I'll try to do it today using the same design, so no problem there. And yes, you can invite them. That's why we called it X-Culture Academy, so we don't block ourselves in a specific age group. So bring those in. We will have the same pricing for them as for individual participants. And yes, I'll have everything ready within a day or two, so you can refer them to basically the same page. I'll probably even have the same X-Culture Academy page for all, but then just will have like a separate link. If you're older, then here is a separate page for you. And the other way, for the professionals. If you're younger, you might want to read this. Or maybe we'll even try to make it a little bit more universal, so we'll experiment. But yes, please refer them. They will count as your enrollments. We will pay for them the same way. And basically manage it exactly the same way, with the only difference that they will be working with other professionals. So children of the same age with children of the same age, undergraduate students with undergraduate students, MBA students with MBA students, EMBA students with EMBA students, professionals with professionals. So we don't want to mix them because, they have different interests, different ages, different, skills, expectations. So we'll try to keep them separate within the teams.
Yeah, and we have some of them who want to team up or like have a team, or like you find a program, an institution program that has got a number of professionals that could go like to 100 or 200. How do we handle such cases?
That is a very interesting question. That is a very, very interesting question, Alex. What we have now, in fact, if you let me just very quickly, let's see if I can share it. Just those who are not interested in this option, well, I guess it may be of interest to everybody. So let me very quickly show you what I have here. So when you go to xculture.org and click for professionals, that's what we have for now. So we've had it, I just need to update the prices so that they're consistent with what we have now. We have several payment options, and I think it's not on the page, but when you click on apply, so it will be there. So we give them an option to apply individually, but then we give them an option to bring their own team. And so if they come with their own team, they will just work in a co-located team. Where's the price in there? I think we've been messing with that. So, but anyway, let me stop here. So I don't want to waste time. But we do allow them to come with their own team. And so if they come and participate individually, they're just individual participants. Many people come with like 5 people and they want to participate as a group of 5. And then we may even have this unique situation where we have, let's say, 100 employees and they want to enroll as a class. In that case, I suppose we'll just treat them as a school. So I guess, one price for the whole class. Still, everybody will have to take the training, will have to take the exam. But I suppose for the simplicity, that's how we'll treat it. Would that make sense?
Yeah, and for schools, yeah, in Kenya you will find some classes with students or pupils up to 400 per class. So how do, and they're grouped into streams, but so I don't think it's okay to have them as one.
Should we then say, and that's a very good question, I didn't think about it. And you're right, Ghana, like even when we had Samuel Kameya's class, MBA course, you would think MBAs, how many they should be, like 20, 30? They had classes literally like 300 MBA students. Like we're talking about a huge, humongous number. Can we maybe say 275 for a class, but then say up to, for example, 50 or up to 40, and then contact us for larger classes?
Yeah.
Maybe do it this way, and then leave it up to you to decide what the price should be. Should it be like 275 for every 50? And then basically you negotiate with them on a private basis and tell us what the price should be. Would that be good enough?
Yeah, that would be good.
Maybe I'll add the words 275 for a class up to, I guess 40 seems like a reasonable. It's hard to imagine that people will have larger than 40, or maybe 50, just to be absolutely sure. But if it's really more, then maybe
40 is good.
Yeah, 40. Yeah, maybe let's add that just to be on the safe side. Okay. Sayed, you keep raising hand and we keep knocking you out. So if you want to go ahead and say what you want to say.
Yeah, so I had a couple of points that I wanted to discuss. The first one was the Facebook advertising. Now this thing that it primarily stems from this discussion that we had in our prior discussions about the advertising thing, right? So we talked about that the RADs will have their own autonomy to advertise as they wish, right?
Yes.
Of course, with your approval. So one of those things that it requires is a mass communication platform, right? So the RADs, they can have a platform such as a Facebook page or I don't know, something else through which they can communicate with the masses. So it can be a part of our individual local campaign. So if I want to run a campaign for Karachi, apart from my individually going to schools and meeting the parents and the children and the teachers there, I want to target the masses somehow. So I can do it through Facebook. But I see that it will be a problem for X-Culture here since we have 40 REDs and just one Facebook page. So we'll have to look into it. So yeah, that's one thing that we'll have to see. A suggestion that I have given a few times earlier is that we can go for the global pages tool of Facebook. It's a tool through which the same Facebook page allows for different content to be targeted for different audiences, right? So the same Facebook page will be used for Ghana and for Pakistan and for countries so on and so forth. So this is one thing that we can discuss.
Let me respond to that. I actually have spent quite some time in the last 5 days trying to figure out what's the best way to do it. The idea is that, yes, you will be able to do your own advertisement, but everybody I spoke to who knows how this works, they said, do it through your central Facebook account. So the way we will do it is you will tell us, send us what you want to post. Maybe it's going to be in local language. Maybe it's, you want a different picture, whatever, is suitable for your culture. We'll have our own standard design, which you can use, but if you want to modify the text, the visuals, that's perfectly fine. And you will just tell us, okay, I want this ad to be aired for this audience. And you will say, for example, we can choose geography, we can choose age, we can choose whatever you want. There are like 25 different characteristics that you can specify your target audience on. And we will place that on your behalf from our account. That will allow us to track the statistics, the performance, the metrics centrally. And at the same time, you don't have to, deal with the issues of creating an account, paying money, because it's a little bit more complicated than just placing the ad. So you have to do some setup stuff, and so you don't have to deal with that. So we'll just do it for you. So the way it will work is you will tell us, I want this for this audience, for this many people, for this long. We will take a look as long as it makes sense, as long as it's fine and consistent with what we're trying to do. We will place that ad on your behalf. And so this way you will basically, save yourself time, and I guess it will be more efficient. Unless it's something that must be done locally, like if you decided to place an ad in a local newspaper. If it's really a necessity, I guess you'll have to handle that. Unless it can be done online, then in that case we can do it. But Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever other, so we'll probably have to handle it centrally as described by you. So we'll follow your instructions, but we'll do the job for you.
All right, so I think that's fine. But the only problem that I see with that is that the X-Culture page, it will have different contents targeted to the different audiences. For example, if an XYZ audience, he or she visits the X-Culture page, it will have different sort of contents, right? So I don't know if it will put across the right image or not, if you're getting me.
What we can do with that, again, that's a very good question. We already have a local page for Ukraine. So Evgeny here, he actually did go ahead and created a page for Ukraine, already has some likes even there. So you definitely can create your own pages for your country. But then again, it's very easy. So we can still, you know, like if we place an ad, you can also share it and place it on your own Facebook stream. So that shouldn't be a problem. And then in most cases, you will still want it to be seen by people, you know, target audience that you have. And so we can always place the ad through our account, but you can also share it to your own stream. And if you want to have your own page in your own language, both Facebook, but also the actual Xculture page, just send us the text. Well, you can create the Facebook without us. You don't need us for that. But if you want to have a separate page that looks just like a real Xculture landing page, but with your own, like for example, language or text, no problem at all. Just send us the text. We will clone the page, make a clone, send you the link, and you can also use it whichever way you want. So that shouldn't be.
Yeah, so I think that's fine. That answers my question. Another suggestion that I had was, I think it will be very helpful with the recruiting, is that we launched the brand ambassador program. So what we can do with that is that as we go on talking to different schools, different faculties, different administrations, we can maybe recruit 1 or 2 students on our behalf. So we can compensate them with, I don't know, maybe a free registration or a good certificate on from Xculture. And in return, what they can do is that they can act as our representatives in that school. So whatever message that we'll want to relay to that school, we can do so through them. And I think it will definitely help us with the registration. So that's one suggestion that I have for you.
That's a very, very good suggestion. I definitely support it. Send me what you have in mind in terms of, you know, like what kind of bonuses we can offer them, and we'll look at them. I will also share with you, so the Ukrainian guy, Evgeny, so what he wants to do, he wants to have like a little contest and give them out like books. So literally like, you know, books on business. And so he wants to have a little, you know, promo that way. And so just buy a few copies of those books and have them like prizes. And I suppose that's fine. So that's very appropriate, very consistent with our values. And then, as I said, you know, if we have somebody who's extremely active, we'll probably give them some sort of travel stipends to the symposium. But also in the future, especially if this works, and if you have people sort of working for you, we'll have to figure out a way to create a compensation system. Obviously the commission, but maybe also, you know, basically give them the same deal you have, maybe a little bit less, so you do a little bit more managerial work. So at this time, I don't know what's the best way to do it is. So as long as you tell me what you want to do, if it makes sense, we will try it. And I encourage you to try those different things. As I said,
all right. So,
price. Yeah. So here, I definitely don't want to have one standard approach, because first, you can come up with better ideas, and second, different ideas may work differently in different countries. So if you want to try any of those new things, by all means do, and let's see which ones work.
All right. So I think that does the job. The last question. It's a less call it a trivial matter, but it's something that I think we'll have to talk about. So I've started talking to some vendors for the printing material, and as expected, they're asking about the time the payments will be made and the mode of payment, you know, Western Union or something. So if you can give a little bit of information about that.
Yes, so printing, yes, we should finalize all the designs by the end of the day today. And then, so at least the standard, you know, templates will be available. And then if modification is needed for the local market, that will be up to you how fast you can make them. So hopefully we'll be able to accommodate. And we have a girl who works with us as a graphic designer. Hopefully she will be available to quickly, you know, update the text if needed, you know, put the translated version or something like that. In terms of the payments, the ideal scenario would be that they send us the invoice and an online payment link. So I assume most of them would be able to take a credit card payment or a PayPal payment or some other online payment. And if so, very easy. You talk to them, you decide on the price, on the quantity, send us the estimate. If it looks good, we approve it. And they just say basically, okay, pay here. And so we go to their page and we just pay. And so this way you don't have to deal with that. So we pay directly. The documentation all automatically comes to us for accounting purposes. So that's very easy. I imagine that in some countries, the cheapest way to print would be you basically order the print and pay cash, essentially. It's a little bit more problematic because in that case, documentation becomes more difficult. And, you know, we want to see basically, you know, accounting becomes more difficult. And I suppose in those cases, the only way we can do it is that, again, you send us all the documentation and we just pay you that amount, either, you know, one time separately or add it to your monthly salary, and so compensate you that way. So we'll definitely work with you. I'm hoping there will be some sort of like a streamlined online payment system where my assistant will go through the requests, make sure that everything's fine, and then like every 2 days or 3 days gives me a list and says, this is where we need to pay. We're actually making the payment, so I don't have to make them separately. Because again, it's, you know, each time I assume it will take like 10, 15 minutes to make the payment. So if you have to make like 30 of them, that's like half a day gone just on this. And but again, if it cannot be paid online, if there is no easy way to just pay with a credit card online, we'll work with you and find a way to do it so that, you know, you still get the money to reimburse yourself for that expense.
All right, I think that answers me. Is Western Union possible? I think it's a more globalized institution.
Western Union is possible. The only problem with them is they charge a lot in the commission. So it's not a percentage, it's a fixed fee for different types of amounts. And so up until I believe $200, it's like $15 fee. And so if you pay $200, so $15 fee, that's like 7%, which is high but acceptable. But if you have to make only like $25 and you pay $15 fee, all of a sudden you basically double the price because of the fee. And so it kind of works fine when it's a larger amount, but it's not so well when it's a smaller amount. So from that perspective, it's always easier to pay either by PayPal or literally, as I said, a credit card. So I know when I order print here in the United States, I can pay with a credit card. And so I either pay myself, or if somebody was paying for me, I would just say, here is the link, click here, pay here, secure, fast, easy, and the minimum or no fees at all for transfer, maybe some, you know, currency conversion fee. So that's the preferred method. But again, if it's absolutely unavailable, we'll try to work with you and find a way to do it.
All right. Yeah.
All right, so I see Estefania is falling asleep, so, and I would too, so if I were not talking, so I guess it's too long. So let's stop here. We'll have another meeting maybe on Saturday if there are any urgent matters. Facebook for the discussions, email for the private conversations, and very productive, very good. So let me now spend the rest of the day trying to finalize all those materials. And as we said, if you have any final comments, either on the price or on design, make them right now so I can see them before we finalize the decisions. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And let's stop here. All right. Bye-bye.